and you can quote this on me. There is no way the Orioles or Red Sox make the playoffs this season. Uh, yeah, yeah. There's no way. There's no way.
I set the bar really low at the NBA predictions.
I don't think all Mavs fans look into the stats like I do.
It's not the great value Target brand toilet paper or whatever. It's the Charmin Ultra Strong.
I don't know if Nick Nurse is the coach for the Raptors. I don't know if he's the reason why they won the 2019 championship. I feel like that was more of a team effort.
The Mavs cannot say we do not miss Seth Curry shooting threes.
This questions the firing of Dwayne Casey, who I think is a very underrated coach.
To me, the Capitals really pushed all their chips for this season.
Hello, I'm Mike Grimes, and you've been listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our MLB Opinions of the Week. The offseason has started, but we're going to review the World Series, which I was shocked. It was incredibly close outside of the Game 4.
Game 3 and Game 4.
Okay.
The Phillies destroyed in Game 3. It was like 7-1, 8-1.
That was
8-0. And then the Astros hit them in Game 4. So besides those two games, which one went one way, one went the other, I'd say pitching was definitely the story.
Yeah, pitching was the story, and I just want to talk about the Phillies to start off with what a fantastic run. A team that struggled all year, fired Girardi, and then Rob Thompson filled in, and Bryce Harper was mostly out for the season, but he was able to come in and put up a memorable postseason run. I'm not sure historically where it ranks, but I believe this was his first time in the playoffs, and of course
with the Phillies,
with the Phillies, and he just after he left the Nationals won a World Series. But now he finally gets his run with the Phillies, and it was a fantastic run, and he was just phenomenal. I don't think there was a bad game from Harper.
I would say the no-hit game, even though he had a walk in that game, he definitely did not perform like he would have wanted. But you're right, necessarily he did not have a game where it was terrible from him, and he was definitely a huge reason. I still find it a little bit weird that he did not play the field, but maybe it was because of his injury from early in the year. But
yeah, I think
the Phillies should be proud of their run.
I think that was the reason of his injury, so he wasn't in the field because he would have been. Even though Castellanos played well in right field, he played all right. He better than I expected. But yeah, they should be proud. Their pitching was incredible. You had Wheeler, Nola, but also Hernandez, or no. I'm forgetting his name.
What position?
What
position? What were we talking about?
Pitcher. It was the third pitcher.
Like Ranger Nola. Suarez?
Ranger Suarez was what I was thinking of. He was like the main guy. Whenever you didn't have Wheeler or Nola pitch, it was Suarez who played well in his games, and then I know they had one Noah Syndergaard game, but I think the Noah Syndergaard game was, hey, just get us a couple innings in, and then we'll turn it over to our bullpen, which Alvarado was a star, Eflin and Robertson were the main two guys, so I think like those were the worries I had for the Phillies going in.
And, I did not expect their hitting to completely die out after Game 3, and that was the reason. They had this series in hand, and then their hitting completely left. And even in their home stadium, they were struggling, and it was kind of shocking to see. That no-hit game really sparked the Astros. I know the Astros ended up winning the rest of the series, like the rest of the game. So they won 4, 5, 6. It definitely could have gone the other way if the Phillies just got a little bit more home cooking, because that Game 5 victory was only 3-2.
Yeah, and they were outside of Game 3 and Game 4, it was so close, and just so like you never thought the Phillies were out. Even with the no-hit game, that I think it was only 2 runs scored.
I thought it was 5, but I mean, you can check. I don't remember. I think it was 5-0, but I could be wrong always.
All right, I'm looking at it. Okay. Yeah, it was 5-0.
Yes, I thought.
Yeah.
It was a great series, and the Astros deserve their props for winning their first championship that actually matters. And people are saying now that the cheating didn't matter. They were a good team all along. One, they didn't have Jordan Alvarez or Jamie Pena. They have a completely different team. So saying that cheating didn't matter, I think it's disingenuous to every team that played in 2017. But they deserved a championship this year. Well, I do not like the Astros whatsoever for the pain they have put me through during a series that they obviously have been known to cheat in. This year, that's not what happened. They were the better team, and they deserved the championship. So I'll pull up my big boy pants and say they deserve this one. But if you expect me just because they won this one to ignore 2017, you're completely mistaken.
Yeah, no. Now I can. This is their one real championship. When they say second championship, I'm going, no one. But yeah, I was already bought into the Astros team and just giving them their props last series. But this series, you just saw, and to me, it's a completely different team than 2017. I think this is the best Astros team we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought their best team was in 2019. I thought that was the year they were going to do it. The year they played the Nationals and lost. But
Yeah.
yes, I'd have to, because that one still had Springer and Correa, and I feel like Springer's better than Chaz. And whether you say Pena is still really good, I don't know. It's close, but yes, this was one of their better teams, at least one of their better, if not their best team. And I definitely think that this is a team that will be remembered as such, as a very good team.
Yeah, and it's mostly because of their pitching. Just because Justin Verlander did not play well. Well, he finally got his win in the World Series. Didn't play well in Game 1, but Javier incredibly well. Valdez, I think, was the best pitcher this series. McCullers just had a. I think he's still recovering from injury.
He does not look right. I'm going to say that. He was obviously, there's nothing. This does not mean he's a bad player, but he was obviously not himself, and he played very bad these playoffs. Besides his game against Seattle.
Yeah, and but yeah, Valdez, Javier, and then their bullpen was just fantastic. The
bullpen was the most important part, because once you get a great start, this happened to the Yankees before, because the Yankees, a lot of their great relievers were hurt, whether it be Chad Green or Michael King, but this is a healthy team, and when you have a great start, or even when you have a bad start, to have 3 guys or 4 guys that you can just say, hey, go get us an inning. They have 3 or 4 of those guys, and that's the difference between a ring and not a ring.
Yeah, I agree. And to me, I'm still looking at the 2019 team. I'm trying to see the World Series just to see who pitched in the World Series that year. Because I know you still have Justin Verlander, then you have Garrett Cole. But to me, what was so great about, and I hate saying the Astros are great. Like, I shared the same disdain for them as you.
Well, sorry to interrupt. Just one thing. They were not dominant enough for this to be an all-time great team. If you look at every playoff game, they won by 2 or 3. It was a save opportunity in every game besides, I think, 2, which was Game 3 against the Yankees and then Game 4 against the Phillies this year. They were not dominant. When you look at a lot of those great teams I consider all-time great, the Astros were just not dominant enough. They won games, yes, but they won close games every time.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm not sure how they rank all time, but to me, maybe dominant's not the right word for it. But I know Jeff Passan tweeted out the Astros are inevitable. To me, that's almost what it felt like.
Also, in that 2019 series, they had Michael Brantley, when in this series they didn't. So, and they also had Zach Greinke. Zach Greinke, when he was still pitching really well, because that year, let me check his ERA in 2019. He was an all-star that year, and he had a 2.93 ERA in 2019. Greinke did. So you had Cole, Verlander, Greinke as their 3 starters. I would say definitely that team was better. And I could be wrong, but I always thought that was the year. And they also had Jake Marisnick, who's a great defensive player, Josh Reddick. They still had Kyle Tucker, They still had Yordan Alvarez. Again, their pitching was Garrett Cole, Chris Davinsky. They had Will Harris, who eventually was an All Star, and then has been on uh, the Nationals since. I think he's out of the league now, but he was, I think, their closer. They also had Roberto Ozuna, who was a really good pitcher before. He was an All Star in 2017 with the Blue Jays. And they still had Ryan Presley, so they still had a really good bullpen. I would say 2019 was their best team. That is one of the best starting 3 pitchers I've ever seen. It's 3 guys under 3 ERA. Verlander wasn't even hurt, and Verlander these playoffs was not Verlander, besides obviously Game 5. And I think Verlander these playoffs was better outside of the World Series. And then, again, Cole and Greinke were both monsters.
Yeah, I'm curious. I think I might still side with this team because to me, what was the Astros just to me felt there wasn't a constant performer outside of Pena and Bregman, but they still had some off nights.
Yeah, this is definitely not as well as I thought was going to be how some of these players played. Like, while Yordan did hit the eventual home run that won them the World Series, he did not have a Yordan series. So they definitely were not playing at their best, and that's why they're not, I don't think, the best team they've ever had. And also they got through it. I'll say that. They normally, when one part of your game is as poor as the Astros were hitting the ball during some games, like scoring 3 runs and winning a game is preposterous. And the Astros did it multiple times during the playoffs. Scoring 1 run in 18 innings and still winning that game is preposterous. Like, that never happens. So while the Astros hitting, I do think, is a little bit overrated just because of how well they played in the regular season, there's no doubt in my mind that this is one of the best pitched playoffs I've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree. And to me, it's Yordan did not have a good series. Last series, Altuve, or the first 2 series, Altuve did not have a good series. But they were able to win because of other players.
It really was pitching, though. Like, one player can't win you a game. And that's the thing with, like, Harper. Harper sometimes would have a good game, but Philly still couldn't win it. There was many games where even the score was really high, like that 8-7 game with the Astros versus Seattle. And that was really only besides that in Game 3, because Lance McCullers just didn't pitch well. They didn't really have any other bad performances, and that's really what you need your entire pitching staff. And when you can hold a team under 4, you should win the game. And surprisingly, they even scored under 4 and won a lot of those games.
Yeah, their pitching was amazing, and then the hitting did just enough. Yordan came up big with that hit, which, yeah.
Timely hitting. They had timely hitting.
Timely hitting, yeah. Pena with timely hits, Bregman. So, yeah, that's, to me, I hate it, but the Astros look good, and they just have found ways to develop players, like developing Christian Javier.
It's more the fact that they instill confidence in their players. It's not, I don't necessarily believe when you pick up a player, for example, not every player is going to turn into the player they become with other teams. If some other guy or some other roster were to have Jeremy Pena a long time ago, like get him through their system, does not mean he's going to be this good. Yeah. I believe in nurture over nature. If you're talking about the whole psychology thing, what the team does for you, they instill confidence in their players. They play them even when they're not at their absolute best, so that they can have learning experiences and get better and get better and get better, and eventually turn into a extremely good player.
Yeah, that kind of goes into my point too. They identified talent, but they also know how to nurture.
More importantly, they're good at teaching. They can teach.
Which to me was like why I brought up the farm system last time. Because they got Javier and then they developed Javier. They developed Pena. And they signed Gurriel They traded for Mancini, who made a great play, but they also had Merznick, who's now on the Cleveland. But then Chas McCormick comes up.
Marisnik?
Chas McCormick.
You mean Shaw?
Oh, I'm thinking of Shaw. Okay, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, Straw. Yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking of Straw. But yeah, they just have players that come up. While McCormick had a great defensive play. Offensively, he did just enough. Pena to me is just incredible, and really shown why they've lost a lot of what they had at the beginning of this run, and now they've been able to do it, and they finally get a World Series where you can't dispute it. Where 2017 you can dispute it.
Yeah, 2017 doesn't matter to me. I really want to stop talking about it with anybody online because it brings up too much anger. But this is a legit championship. This is a team that deserved it. One of the better teams in a regular season. One of the best pitching teams I've seen in a very long time, and they deserve it. Well, I still think 2017 they didn't. There's no disputing this one, as you mentioned. The Astros deserved it.
Yeah. So congrats, Astros. That's the most what praise you're gonna get.
Oh, especially from me. You're not going to get more praise than that. I cannot be nicer.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens this next year. But Phillies, I thought they were going to be terrible this season. They middled, and then they made it into the playoffs, and now they're hitting. We talked like Hoskins. You brought up Hoskins last time. Hoskins playing well, and so was Castellanos. They kind of struggled this series. But outside of that, I think very, very tight series, and I'm very glad it turned. It would have been better if the Phillies won, because then the Astros don't win, and then we can mess with them about it.
Yeah.
But overall, tight series, very close. Wasn't outside of Game 3 and Game 4, Game 3 and Game 4.
Yeah.
Where one team just dominated. It was so tight, and you're like, up until the last pitch.
Yeah, and this was a good playoffs. Not the best playoffs I've ever seen. There were a lot of games that I just feel like didn't have enough offense, and I felt like even the pitching was not. Like, I saw some bad pitches in the Yankees, for example, would just not hit them. So I enjoyed watching it, as I always do, but it was a long season, and we're back at it very soon.
Well, yeah, some teams have started making moves already, so we'll talk about that later. But yeah, some games could have been better. But this, I think, was a good way, and you'll remember the end. So people will probably think fondly of like, oh, that was a really good series. And then Dusty Baker finally gets a ring, and
that's the best part of it. That's the only reason why I'm not extremely mad. I'm not, because he's one of the best coaches, or managers, I should say, in MLB history. He's a very likable guy, and he's one of the best people in MLB history, not just coaches. So he deserves a ring, and he finally got it. So I'm happy for him. He's the only person on the Astros I'm actually happy as a ring.
Yeah, and then Pena, I think they made the right decision giving him the World Series MVP.
I don't. I feel like it should have been one of the starters.
Oh, that is good.
Pitching was way too important to the team's victory for it not to be one of them, in my opinion. So,
would you give it to Valdez?
Probably.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking of like mostly hitters, and I was like Pena or.
They give it to hitters way too often. Yeah. I feel like hitters are less important than you think, because a pitcher can give a no hitter basically, and you only had to score one run. But Pena played well, but he only had 3 RBIs in the series. He hit 1 homer. He had a good average, but he only really had 1 breakout game, which was in Game 4.
I know there were some great defensive plays. And I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, but pitching was way too important. It was way too important. It's like the Nationals were giving it to Strasburg like they should have. They don't get those performances from Strasburg. They don't win. Mm-hmm. Valdez plays bad if Valdez plays bad in his 2 games, they lose both of those games. the Phillies win 4-2. So it was way too important. And I feel like they give it to position players way too often it's just like MVP as well. It's very rare it's a pitcher, even though the pitcher may be the best player. So it is what it is. It's like QBs in the NFL. More QBs win MVP. So
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah, I was just happy they didn't give it to Alvarez because I'm like, please do not give it to Alvarez.
Oh, he did not play well enough. He hit one hit that was actually
Yeah, I was like, don't give it to him. I'm like, I understand why you give it to Pena. I also I think it was either Valdez or Javier.
Javier only played one game though. I would have gave it to Valdez, like I said.
There we go. Yeah, I was just saying Javier because of the no hit.
But he didn't get the no hitter. He just had 6 no hit innings. It's not the first time it's ever happened.
Well, yeah, but yeah, I would have gone Valdez, but then I think Javier would be second. So but overall, congrats Astros. That's all you get. And now we move on to next offseason, to this offseason, next season. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions, and make sure to check out all our other videos.